47 years ago, the universe sent a signal we mistook for a greeting. In 2024, the reply finally arrived, and it carries a terrifying realization. It wasn't a call for help, it was a census. And according to the data currently circulating through classified channels, the count has finally reached 0. This is the story of the WOW signal, a cosmic mystery that has transitioned from a scientific curiosity into a silent existential crisis. On a humid night in August 1977, a volunteer named Jerry Ehman sat in the control room of the Big Ear Radio Telescope in Ohio. He wasn't looking for a miracle. He was simply reviewing the daily computer printouts of radio noise captured from the stars. But among the endless columns of numbers, a sequence appeared that stopped his breath. 6EQUJ5. It was a burst of radio energy so powerful and so precisely tuned to the frequency of hydrogen that it seemed to scream of intent. For 72 seconds, the universe spoke directly into our ears. Ehman took a red pen, circled the sequence, and wrote a single word in the margin that would haunt humanity for decades. Wow. Then, for nearly half a century, the sky fell into a silence so profound it felt like a rejection.
Sagittarius.
The 1977
Readings
signal arrived from the direction of Sagittarius,
Zooming
near a
in on
group
the
of
primary
stars
cluster
known
now.
as Sagittarii. It was narrowband, concentrated, and possessed every characteristic of a deliberate transmission. Yet, despite pointing every modern telescope we possessed back at that empty patch of sky, we heard nothing but the cold hiss of the cosmic microwave background. Scientists proposed theories of cometary tails, hydrogen clouds, or classified military interference, but none could explain the sheer, singular intensity of that 1977 burst. The world eventually moved on, relegating the event to the archives of unsolved mysteries. We assumed it was a fluke, a momentary glitch in the fabric of space. But the silence didn't last forever. In the early months of 2024, a high-altitude observatory, operating on a proprietary data link not typically monitored by the public, detected a rhythmic oscillation coming from the exact coordinates of the original 1977 source. This wasn't a fleeting 72-second burst. It was a sequence of structured pulses that lasted for 72 hours. The data wasn't just a spike in volume. It contained complex mathematical layers that mirrored the original 1977 transmission, almost as if the sender were repeating our own words back to us to ensure they had our undivided attention. When the raw data was processed through modern decryption algorithms, the result wasn't a blueprint or a set of coordinates. It was a temporal map. The question currently troubling a small select group of researchers is why this reply took exactly 47 years to arrive. If the signal traveled at the speed of light, the source would have to be 23.5 light-years away, a distance that fits several potential star systems. However, the content of the 2024 message suggests something much closer, or perhaps something that isn't traveling through traditional space at all. The reply wasn't just a response. It was a snapshot of Earth's own radio environment from 1977, reflected back to us with a terrifying degree of clarity. It was as if something out there had recorded our first contact and waited for the perfect moment to play it back. Distorted by a subtle, underlying frequency that experts are now calling a dissonance filter. This dissonance filter is allegedly the reason for the current wall of silence from major space agencies. When you play the 1977 signal alongside the 2024 reply, they don't cancel each other out. Instead, they create a third, hidden pattern, a set of instructions that appear to describe the rapid degradation of our own atmosphere over the last 5 decades. The message doesn't feel like a greeting. It feels like a biological audit of a planet being watched with a clinical, detached interest. Some researchers suggest that the 1977 signal wasn't actually meant for us to hear. We may have simply been in the path of a beam meant for a much older, much more patient recipient. By circling that printout and shouting our discovery to the world, we might have inadvertently announced our presence to a force that considers radio noise a form of planetary pollution. The technical specifics of the 2024 reply are even more unsettling than the timing. The signal arrived on a frequency of 1420.406 MHz, the water hole, where astronomers have long searched for signs of life. But this new signal possessed a chirp, a slight deliberate increase in frequency that exactly compensated for the Earth's rotation and orbital velocity with an accuracy that defies current human technology. It wasn't a natural phenomenon. It was a targeted broadcast, aimed specifically at the location where the Big Ear telescope once stood. But the Big Ear was dismantled in '98 to make way for a golf course. The sender didn't seem to know we had moved on, or perhaps they simply didn't care about our terrestrial developments. Within the classified briefings that have surfaced on the fringes of the scientific community, there is renewed talk of the dark forest hypothesis. This theory suggests that the universe is a crowded, dangerous place where civilizations hide like hunters in a dark woods. Any civilization that reveals its location by shouting into the void becomes a target, or at the very least, an annoyance to be managed. If the 1977 WOW signal was a hunter's footstep, the 2024 reply might be the sound of that hunter finally stopping to look directly at us. The lack of public comment from NASA and other global entities isn't necessarily a cover-up of aliens. It is more likely a strategic containment of the realization that humanity may have failed a cosmic test of discretion. Consider the nature of the data itself. The 2024 reply included a series of prime numbers, which is what SETI researchers always expected. But following the prime numbers was a string of binary code that, when translated into a visual matrix, created a high-resolution map of the Earth's magnetic field. This map, however, showed the field not as it is now, but as it was thousands of years ago. This implies that whoever sent this message has been observing this planet since before the dawn of recorded history. They didn't just find us in 1977. They have been waiting for us to reach a level of technological development where we could finally hear them. The 1977 signal was a ping to see if we were online.
The connection is established.
The 2024 reply is the notification that the connection has been established. The reason for the continued governmental silence might be found in the societal impact assessment protocols developed during the Cold War.
What are the readings now?
If it were confirmed that an advanced, indifferent intelligence is monitoring our planetary health and reflecting our own history back to us, the resulting shift in global power dynamics would be catastrophic.
It's irreversible. We're ruined.
Our political borders and economic systems rely on the idea that humanity is the primary actor on this stage. The 2024 signal suggests we are merely the subject of a long-term observation project, one that has recently moved into a more active phase of data collection. There are also the anomalies within the signal's modulation. Experts who have analyzed the leaked portions of the 2024 data report that the signal contains echoes of human voices, fragmented, digitized bits of radio broadcasts from the mid-20th century. This suggests the sender has been harvesting our leaked electromagnetic radiation for decades, using our own culture to construct their response. It's a form of cosmic mimicry that feels more predatory than friendly. It is the sound of a mockingbird repeating the song of a bird it intends to replace. The 2024 reply isn't a bridge. It's a mirror held up to a species that might not be ready to see what is standing behind it in the reflection. The most disturbing aspect of the 2024 event is what some are calling the second WOW. 3 weeks after the long-duration signal ended, a final, short burst was detected. It was identical to the 1977 signal in every way except for the intensity. It was 10 times stronger. It was so powerful that it momentarily overloaded the sensors on multiple deep space probes. This wasn't a message. It was a door slamming shut. It was a signal that the observation period has ended and something else is beginning. Since that final burst, the coordinates in Sagittarius have gone completely dark. Not even the usual background radiation can be detected from that sector. It's as if a part of the sky has been turned off, leaving a literal hole in the stars. What if the 1977 WOW signal was actually a warning from a third party? Some theorists suggest that the original burst was a stay away message sent from one civilization to another, and we simply intercepted it by accident. If that's the case, the 2024 reply wasn't for us. It was a response from the entity that was being warned. We are the ants on a battlefield, listening to the radio chatter of giants and assuming they are talking to us. The silence from our official institutions might be a desperate attempt to figure out which side of the cosmic fence we are on before the giants decide to clear the field of all interference. In the laboratories where this data is being scrutinized, the atmosphere is reportedly one of clinical dread. There is no excitement about meeting new neighbors. There is only the frantic work of analyzing the atmospheric correction data found in the reply. If the signal contains a detailed breakdown of our planet's vulnerabilities, it could be a roadmap for a process we don't yet understand. Is it a guide for helping us, or a checklist for a transition? The 2024 reply is not a book we can read. It's a code we may have to survive. The timing of the reply also coincides with our own increasing efforts to reach out. With projects like the James Webb Space Telescope, we are peering further into the dark than ever before. Perhaps the 2024 signal is a direct response to our own gaze. There is an old saying that if you stare into the abyss long enough, something stares back. In 1977, we took a photo of the abyss. In 2024, the abyss developed the film and sent it back to us, and we are realizing that we don't like how we look in the picture. The official narrative will likely remain focused on terrestrial explanations. We will be told it was a solar flare, a gravitational lensing event, or a glitch in a new satellite array.
It really is
this is the safest path for social stability. To admit that we have received a structured, multi-layered response from the deep reaches of space is to admit that we are no longer in control of our own story. The WOW signal was a 72-second mystery that defined a generation of seekers. The 2024 reply is a 72-hour revelation that might define the end of our isolation. As we move further into this year, the data continues to be filtered and classified. But the truth has a way of leaking through the cracks. Amateur radio astronomers around the world are noticing the black hole in Sagittarius, the patch of sky where no radio noise now exists. They are noticing the subtle shifts in satellite behavior when they pass through certain orbital planes. The universe feels different now. The 1977 signal was a question we didn't know how to ask. The 2024 reply is an answer we aren't ready to hear. We are living in the shadow of a cosmic event that has already happened. The waves have reached our shore, and the tide is starting to go out. What is left on the sand is a message written in a language of frequency and light, telling us that the 47 years of silence were not a gift, but a grace period. That period has ended. The WOW signal was the first knock on the door. The 2024 reply is the sound of the handle turning. Whether we choose to open it or try to hold it shut, the visitor is already on the porch. The mystery of the WOW signal has evolved from a scientific curiosity into an existential crisis. We are no longer looking for life among the stars. We are looking for a reason why that life is so interested in our specific history and our specific failures. The silence of space agencies and the silence of the stars are now one and the same. A heavy, expectant quiet that precedes a storm. In 1977, we were excited to find that we might not be alone. In 2024, we are discovering the terrifying reality of what being not alone actually means. The stars are not empty, they are occupied, and they have a very long memory. So we wait, watching the static on our screens and the darkness between the constellations.
If this leak gets out,
The 2024
the company is
reply
finished.
is still being
Who else
decoded
knows
in
about the
whispers
server?
behind
Only
closed
us.
doors. But the core of the message is already clear to those who dare to look at the raw numbers. The universe isn't a playground, and the WOW signal wasn't a toy. It was a flare fired into the night sky, and something in the darkness has finally signaled back that it's on its way. The question is no longer, are they out there, but what will they do now that they know we are here? The answer is buried in the 72 hours of the 2024 reply, waiting for a day when the truth can no longer be silenced. The count has reached 0, and the audit is complete.